Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the Village of Bellows Falls Trustees Meeting.
Call the Village Trustees regular meeting to order and move on to approve the minutes of Thursday, May 9th, 2023.
So I have copies, I put them on the dais for folks.
Give everybody a quick second to
Yeah.
look through it before we take action on it.
Jeff, like, or Wade, or Steve. I thought Parks Place was one of the recipients of the, it was like Turning Point and Parks Place, and there were 3 or 4.
Yeah, there was 4 social services agencies, but Parks Place itself did not ask for any money. The others were providers, people that were.
Because the way it's written, it says it voted to go to Parks Place.
They're under the umbrella. They're not specific to Parks Place. You know, each of them we're gonna individually
Yeah, a
bill us.
certain amount.
Yeah,
so
because they're
that-
broken
Correct.
out.
Yeah, we broke down.
So what action would the board like to take on the minutes of Thursday, May 9th, 2023?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of Thursday, May 9th, 2023. Is there any discussion?
I think we need to clarify, the amount is correct. This is under number 1, under the manager's report. It's the proposal, well, it's not under the manager's report, I'm sorry. It's the proposal for national opioid settlements. The amount of $12,989.32 is correct, but I believe there were 4 different agencies that were recipients, and I would.
Right, each individual agency was gonna bill us separately for their services. And
So I would think we should list those.
We had the list with the amounts that they were requesting.
Right,
Right.
we did, yeah.
So can we make that correction then?
Yep, make sure that gets on there.
Anything else? So all in favor of the motion to accept the minutes of Thursday, May 9th, 2023, with the correction that we will list the 4 agencies that will be getting the $12,989.32, would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed would say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And we have adopted the minutes.
Town meeting 4.
I'm always there. Are there any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting?
Just 2 things to add to your organizational meeting. We do have to at least discuss a transportation alternatives steering committee representative. If the board wants to appoint a new person for that steering committee, as well as a new member for the negotiating committee that is working on the PBA contract.
Anything else from anybody? Okay, I'll move on to a public comment on items not on the agenda, 3 minutes per person. Is there any public comment?
Not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda.
Robert McBride, Bellows Falls. And these are things that I made some quick comment on. First of all, I want to let everyone know we have an open studio week with Vermont State Craft Tour Saturday and Sunday. So 7 open studios in downtown Bellows Falls as part of 150 across the state. So hopefully that'll bring a lot of people to downtown, but and has consistently over the years. So please feel free to wander around and look at the vermontcrafts.com website to see the different studios. Someone is just wondering what the status of the ARPA money was in regards to the village and it being either where it's thinking it might be spent or has it been committed. I also was wondering what role the Bellows Falls Village is playing with the new bridges and stuff going on down in Canal Street. I saw in an article last week that Canal Street will be sort of become one all the way. I don't know if that was up past my house, all the way to Penguin, or giving access to the bridge. I mean, we don't have to get into this deeply, but it's just a thought. And the other thing I think was brought up at town meeting, village meeting, which I couldn't participate because I couldn't navigate anything on the website to join it by Zoom, is the problem we have with basic information on the website for people to be able to find and access. I'm not looking for bells and whistles, the village meeting wasn't even on the 15th of the month in the calendar. So I'm not afraid. I assume we sort of try to warn meetings using our website. So just some tightening up of that, not making it a whole website it isn't, but just real basic information for anyone that might be looking up Bellows Falls and want to participate. And welcome to the new members, and
Thank you.
looking forward to working with the new trustee board.
Any other public comment?
You want to respond?
I can give a couple updates.
Scott, why-
Just on the project itself, Robert, on Canal Street, the village has been involved in all the plans that have gone forward. The town has approved all the expenditures because it's a town expenditure. But every one of the updates in terms of all of the way the parking is going to work, the layout and the width of the road, the sidewalk configurations, pedestrian movements, all of that has been vetted through this board. They've had multiple presentations. There's still some work to be done. They're not in final design, so there'll be one more go round. They have not finished the railings, the review of the railings on the bridge, as well as the final landscape plan in relationship to how it will lay out the new parking lot once they're done, and the landscape in the final landscape plan. So there's other pieces to that. The current proposal, based on the last discussion, would be that the Canal Street would be proposed to be one way, all the way up to the intersection. So that has not been finalized, but that is the current proposal. In terms of
Way south to north, northward.
headed north. Correct. So you'd start right at Rockingham Resters and then proceed down the street. The other item in terms of ARPA, the board has gone through and adopted nothing in terms of specific expenditures. They've adopted a host of options, and they've asked me to come back to them with costs and projections. We're going to work on that again now because we have some moderation to that tonight. We're going to be working with Ross on some of their immediate concerns, and then this board will have a chance, since it's reconstituted, to look at that previous work, make updates, and then we'll go forward with the actual expenditures, because we do have to commit money by 2024. So we do have a broad outline of a plan the board's worked through, but since we have 2 new members, it's only feasible for us to go back and make sure that our 2 new people are on board with those priorities.
And what's the best way to stay up on this? Just look at the agendas as they come up for the village trustee meetings.
Well, we're
If I wanted to
hoping, there's a couple
input.
things. First, on Canal Street, we're going to have a blog, and we're going to have an actual piece on the website that will update all the activities, the work, and what's happening, so that people will have a real-time update as to what's happening on construction and what issues there might be. And then in terms of the website design, we've started looking at alternatives about how we might redesign the website. That's going to take a while to get to. In terms of, it's not terribly, user-friendly. So I don't disagree with some of your frustration trying to find information. So we're looking at some options, trying to see if there's some ways we can make it more user-friendly, better design.
Cool. Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, is there any other public comment? Seeing none,
Can I
then,
just follow up to that?
oh, yes, absolutely.
I'm just curious from my own, is it Bonnie North that oversees the village town website?
She was part of the design, the original design that was back, I
When it was
guess,
last time it was updated or?
the last time it
redone?
was substantially updated, yeah.
Which I think has changed a lot since her design.
Yeah,
Been some pieces that were done, not everything that she had proposed was basically done, so, yeah. It needs a refresh.
the other, back on the Canal Street. So you're saying, I know, I saw the thing, it's obviously gonna be one way,
Mhm.
but is that up to, there'll be a new intersection at the bottom of the hill to go over the new bridge?
Yes,
So will the hill part be two-way? Or is it one way all the way? Up to
right now,
Rockingham
it's been proposed to be one way all the way up to Rockingham Street to the intersection.
One way, which way?
Going from downtown up toward
Correct.
England.
So trailer trucks have to go down Canal Street from the square and then turn over to the new bridge?
Well, hopefully, eventually, trailer trucks will go over the Vilas Bridge. And we won't have to worry about trailers in our downtown, so that's the good news.
So the only way
Yeah.
a vehicle would go east across that new bridge would be if they went up Canal Street from here and took a right.
The way it's currently designed, that's true.
I
I
thought
thought
it
it
was,
was gonna be an offset. I thought it was
It is.
gonna be a,
The intersection itself is an offset.
Yeah.
But
but they're gonna allow traffic to.
yeah, I thought the hill part was gonna be two-way.
Yeah.
And the main canal
right
would
now, they
be,
propose it as one way.
yeah,
We haven't finalized the design.
So trucks will have to come through downtown to get onto the island versus come down the hill and.
That's the proposal right now. That's why they redesigned the turning radius on the bridge. Because you couldn't come the other direction and make that turn. So
Yeah,
they
you
had
couldn't
to,
come, you have to come from the north
From
to hit the bridge.
the offset bridge coming down that hill.
Right.
It sounds like it's not coming down the hill.
so,
Right. That's what's sort of like, I mean, it seemed like it would make sense to be able to make a left from Penguin to scoot onto that new bridge, which is the whole idea of accessing the island in a
on the
better
hill part,
way,
on the hill
rather
portion,
than
yes.
coming
Yeah.
through the downtown and
I don't believe
blocking
that's the way they designed
traffic
that.
or going over Bridge Street, which is a bridge we know has trouble anyway. And, you know, I thought that was the whole idea, was to bring new access to the island, so
Yeah, I think that.
bring it one way up to that and then
It has
a
to
quick
be.
two-way.
I don't think it's got enough turning radius for that. We'll double check, but I don't believe so. Because don't forget, you had the businesses, we had to go through the curbing, they wanted the additional right of way. Have to have a 14-foot lane, and we have to have a mountable curb now to make the one turn for a 53-foot tractor trailer, which is a traditional, you know, the longer of the box type trailers. So there's some issues there.
But I'm sorry, where was that issue with if they were trying to come down from Penguin?
You have to
Yes.
make, yeah, you don't have enough right of way to, from what my understanding is, to do both directions, to both turns with those larger trucks.
But
I thought they were coming on
Lost
the,
something.
from north to
I thought,
south.
So-
I thought that was gonna be the main access for trucks is from the north to this.
I'll pull up the last set of plans, because
Yeah.
the last set did not. It didn't, well, first of all, it didn't go past the intersection, so we were only looking at the area up to the bridge itself. We did not go north. You know, up towards the
good question.
BF garage, so I have not seen the final on that.
So maybe this might be something for next agenda.
It'll be a while
Oh,
till that
okay,
comes back. Probably in the fall.
okay, perfect then.
Yeah, they're only 60% design. They're not,
Oh, okay, okay.
they're not done.
I'm thrilled with the project. I'm looking, you know, perfectly happy to see more construction going on and stuff.
Right.
So I'm thrilled and, you know, a lot of the butters, you know, along Canal Street. Another quick question. So will the sidewalks and lighting be redone on Canal Street as part of this whole big project?
Yeah, because we're gonna bury the utilities.
Okay.
So those utility poles are going away. So yes, those will be redone.
Wow, that's great.
Anything else from the public? If not, managers report?
So a couple things, since Marty's here, I didn't know if she wanted to make mention that there will be a event down at the Waypoint Center on the 10th. You guys had already approved the use of the Waypoint Center for the Bellows Falls Festival. It's a music festival fundraiser for the Bellows Falls Rotary. It's an all-day event, goes from 1 till 10, multiple bands, food, trucks. Hopefully a good time will be had by all.
Adult beverages
Adult beverages will be available.
and lemonade.
So the issue hopefully will be, the only concern is weather. But otherwise, we're hopeful that it will be a nice event. Something that, if it's successful, hopefully will contribute, towards our community calendar as it goes forward. So we shall see how that one comes off. And then obviously after that, we have the alumni weekend. So again, that same facility, multiple events with, the alumni dance as well as the parade that following weekend. So, and as Robert had already mentioned, there's quite a few activities around Memorial Day as well. So the square and things in the downtown should start to see a lot more activity. Hopefully the weather holds and we'll be happy with, getting all this new activity back in the downtown, keep things hopefully moving. We are still looking at paving. So starting the last week of June, you'll see some work starting probably next week on Center Street. We have to do some sidewalk work and some preliminary work before they come in and start the milling, which will be the end of June. The other issue up there, as this board has talked about, there's 4 sets of those replacement poles where the utility, Green Mountain, had removed their utilities, but the other utility companies had not removed their pole, their wires off the pole. So we're working with Green Mountain Power to try to get the cable and the phone off in time so those poles can get removed so we can pave the street and not have the double poles in that location as we go forward. So it's one of lots of locations where we have that problem. So we'll see how this works. This will be a nice test to see if we can get cooperation. And if we do, then hopefully that'll be a nice template so we can start to eliminate some of these double poles in other places in the town.
Right.
And for the alumni weekend, over at the Waypoint Center, how late is that, the sound, what was the permitting for music?
I think that goes to 10 o'clock as well, if I remember.
I mean, it's fine if it goes later.
I think
Was it 11? 10 or 11?
either 11 or midnight
Yeah,
is what I thought. I thought it was like 9 to midnight, 3 hours. And they're
Yeah.
pretty strict with the band about
Right.
midnight.
yeah, I
they
wasn't
shut
sure it
down.
was that late, but I'd have to double check the permit, Robert. I don't remember off the top of my head. So,
I think it was I'm just gonna be smacked out. It's a midnight.
Well, the
I'm
alumni
gonna say an all-nighter, but I don't think so.
They used to go up and down the street and leave a little thing on the households along Canal Street saying, we're having this party and it's going until this late, but I didn't know how late it was gonna go. And you did mention sidewalks, and I kind of forget from my days as being a trustee, where's the overlap of, what does the village trustees have over the oversight of sidewalks in the village, or is that a select board issue? Or both, or,
well, the money comes from the town.
okay,
The village does have access to the sidewalk. We have a sidewalk master list of sidewalks that need attention. And then there's been a discussion, there'll be a continuing discussion at the next tri-board meeting, which is coming up at the end of the month, about increasing the amount of money we're spending on sidewalks, because we are behind, significantly behind on the type of maintenance we should be doing. So there's a proposal to try to increase that from the town standpoint to 100,000 a year for the next 5 years and see if we can make a significant impact in the deficient sidewalks.
cool.
Anything else, John?
No, that's it.
Okay. So we'll move on to the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda, organizational meeting. and A is oath of office.
So both Connor, Jiggs, as well as Paul. Connor, did you get yours? It was at your.
Yes, you just need to sign.
Great, so I just need you guys to sign, and then when Kathleen comes back, I'll make sure that she notarizes your signature, and at that point, you will be official members of the board, at least in terms of how the state of Vermont views you. So, thank you for that.
Move to item B, then set the time and place of the regular board meetings and summer schedules.
So traditionally, we have a Tuesday night meeting in this room, 6 o'clock. The second and fourth Tuesdays of every month, except for the summer schedule, which you have laid out in front of you. It had been previously reviewed by the previous board for the summer schedule, which would be only one meeting for June, one meeting for July, and one meeting in August. And then there'll be a tri-board meeting, which will be the end of this month on the 30th, as well as we proposed another one in September, just because we have some things that we wanted to get up to date before the October traditional date, which is the 5 Tuesdays, when you have a tri-board type of a meeting. So traditionally, what the board would do is adopt their regular board meeting schedule for the second and fourth Tuesdays for 6 p.m. And then certainly if you want to re-adopt the summer schedule as it was put in the agenda, we certainly could do that as well.
I do have one issue on the summer schedule. I know I'm on vacation. We're up in North Arrow. Cell service and internet is absolutely horrible. So if we could change it to the 25th, that would really work well for my schedule. If we can't change it, then that will be a meeting that I know that I won't even have the opportunity to zoom in on. So
This is August.
no, July 18th. So if the 25th works for the rest of the board and for you, Scott, I don't know if it does or.
Why don't we make a motion to adopt the, I'll make a motion to adopt the regular meetings will be the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month here in the lower theater, beginning at 6 o'clock in the evening. And a summer schedule, which will be one meeting a month, and to be determined by the chair, by the president and the manager.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded that we would have our regular board meetings the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. in the lower theater. And that we would have a one meeting schedule for June, July, and August for the summer schedule set by the president and the village manager. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor would say aye.
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 I'd like to propose that we move to one meeting a month and move those through the year, and two meetings once we get into budget season.
Jeff, what did you, can't hear what you.
I would like to propose that we have one meeting a month throughout the year, and then when we move to budget season, schedule second meetings.
I think we've tried that.
Not in my time, Gary.
No,
Which is 3 years.
So I guess what's the board?
Well, do we have a, where were we with the motion?
Well,
we made it.
we made it and then we've had kind of a,
Now we're discussing.
we're discussing it now. So it's almost like we have an amendment is what I'm assuming what Jeff is making.
All
So
right.
Well, yeah, I've always thought that one meeting a month was worth a try. I actually, quite honestly, for the, at the next tri-board meeting next week,
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
I was actually gonna bring up, I'll just bring it up now for food for thought, that for the following one, which would be what, September?
I proposed one for September, just
Right.
because there's gonna be a few things.
That actually the boards discuss both going to one meeting a month. Only because with the idea that one meeting a month, if it would work, and again, I don't know if it would. I'm talking, obviously our board and hopefully the select board. Just because of the fact that, in my opinion, for what it's worth, it's, and not because it's Scott Pickup, it could be any manager sitting here, that has to, every Tuesday night, basically of their life, come to a meeting on a Tuesday night. I mean, if you think about it, we wouldn't do it, not,
Well, we don't get the big bucks.
well, I know that, but my feeling is even any well-intentioned person, regardless of the amount that they earn, you can only sustain that for so long. That's my take on it. I don't know if it would work, maybe it wouldn't. My thought was, you can always, if us and or the select board had just one meeting per month, there's nothing saying that you can't call another meeting if something come up. So I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm kind of thinking outside the box. Just because I just think that, year after year, every Tuesday night throughout the calendar year, there's a lot to expect from any person.
I think it's more efficient.
Especially when they're when he or she is working for both boards, and it just, to me, I'm just wondering if there's a better way of doing it. So I'm not opposed to trying the one a month for a while and see how it went. I mean, maybe we'll find out that it don't work and we need to do two. I don't know. So I'm not opposed to Jeff's idea.
I think from a personal standpoint, it would be nice to have just a regular meeting once a month, and then if we had a special item or something we needed to focus our attention on, we could call a special meeting. Even if it's a 1 or 2 agenda item meeting where we know we're gonna spend a significant amount of time. And we could do that and get into more in depth on some things that are probably needing that kind of attention, as opposed to trying to crank through a regular agenda.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it would be beneficial, we could get into things in some more detail.
Agreed.
Jake, what do you?
I don't have a problem.
Okay. I was just gonna ask Jake, so you have been on the board when they tried that?
Yeah. And a lot of it depends on the volume, and, the two ways to do it is, one, have the 2 meetings listed and then cancel a meeting, or have 1 meeting a month and then call special meetings.
Yeah.
The rules and regulations
Right,
for
yeah.
special meetings are a little bit different. So it's, my feeling, I don't have a great desire for 2 meetings a month. So I think the point about the budget is appropriate, because it's a short window that we do that at the beginning of the year. So I think that's the choice. Do you call special meetings, or do you just leave the 2 meetings and then at your discretion or the manager's discretion cancel meetings?
I think I prefer the intentionality of having to call that second meeting, to your point, Scott, to talk about a specific issue or something, versus kind of just letting it sit and needing to actually go out and cancel a meeting if we don't think we need to have it.
Right. And you still have your 4 meetings a year with the tri-board thing, so you still have those meetings as well. So your calendar is still pretty full.
All right, so what I'm really hearing is consensus to look at just 1 meeting a month. My gut feel would be, I think we should try to schedule that the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
And then if something is coming at that meeting, we could say, hey, we do need to run an additional meeting the 4th Tuesday of this month with this item as the only agenda item or the main agenda item.
Interestingly enough, the summer schedule has us meeting on the 3rd.
Just trying to mostly because of holidays, when people are trying to travel, the summer holidays are right in the beginning, like 4th of July, and a lot of people go away that beginning of August, they have traditional vacations, so I was trying to squeeze it into the middle of the month. So if people had plans, they could make them around the beginning or the end of the months. That was really the thought there. So,
Well, I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, either that or all you really need to do is withdraw the 2 meetings and make it 1 meeting, which would be the second Tuesday of the month
I'll make that motion.
at 6 p.m. here in the lower theater.
When will that start?
Probably right in September, because we're scheduled for 1 meeting.
Yeah.
June, 1 July, and 1 August under summer months.
Well, if we meet the second Tuesday of June, July, August, we don't need a special.
Correct.
yeah, maybe I could just move the town, talk to them about moving theirs to the 3rd. It doesn't matter at this point.
That's their usual.
Just swap it. Well, they're usually the first of the day, so we just move them to the 3rd. You guys would keep yours on the 2nd.
Right,
So,
And I
We could
say
do that.
once
We could
once a
rework it.
month,
once a month.
second Tuesday,
yes,
6 o'clock.
So we have a motion on the floor to meet the second Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. here in the lower theater. It'll be strictly 1 meeting a month with the option of having a second meeting if so needed, and that would be determined by the village manager and the village president.
And that'll start in June.
June. Is there a second for that? Second. So the motion has been seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor would say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and we have set our meeting schedule. Moving on to item C, select the official newspaper of record.
so last few years, it's been the shopper, which is when we have to do a legal ad or any kind of defined public notice, it's gone to the shopper. That's been the previous. So it's certainly the board's choice of where they would choose to do that, but that has been the last, at least last 3 years, it's been in the shopper as the paper of record.
So I'd entertain a motion to have the shopper as the official newspaper of record.
I'll move that the trustees select the official newspaper of record as the shopper.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of making the shopper the official newspaper of record would say aye.
Aye.
Opposed would say no. Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And we now have the shopper as the official newspaper of record. Item D, adopt the conflict of interest code of ethics and all other adopted policies and procedures.
So, yeah, the 2 primary annual requirements is we do have to adopt the code of ethics, which has not changed since the last adoption, and the conflict of interest policy. Other policies are things like your fund balance policy, and those are traditionally things that if we have to change, we bring to the board for their consideration. So, but these 2 have to be done annually.
I'll make that motion.
And those came in your packet for everybody. So, so a motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll sign it.
Motion been made and seconded that we would adopt the conflict of interest code of ethics policies. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed would say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and we've adopted those 2 policies. We'll move on to E, which is appoint a trustee to review and sign warrants.
I move that we appoint Paul Obohosky to sign warrants on behalf of the trustees.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So a motion has been made and seconded that we would appoint Paul Obohosky to review and sign warrants. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed would say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and I will be signing warrants. We have probably 2 others like we need to add. One is we need a negotiator for the police.
Yes, representative from this board to sit in on the police negotiations.
What about the other one? Did we already,
That one's already at MOA. We're gonna talk about that in executive session.
okay.
Yeah.
And so Scott and I talked about this, and I certainly would said if there isn't a board member with a little more experience that wants to sit there.
This one doesn't.
Okay. Yeah. Any-
This one is-
Does that mean you're an alternate?
You know,
Wait, are you-
I think Wade would be a good alternate.
How often do they meet?
That group, it can go long, as Jigs is well
Right.
aware. You can go all the way through mandated mediation and arbitration. This go around seems to be going a little less contentious.
Right.
So I would say that we meet once every 2 to 3 weeks.
I would probably pass if you're interested.
Okay. And I certainly will sit on that. It's probably really fits my schedule pretty well because I'm really, really flexible.
They're usually in the afternoons and
So.
Yeah.
So we just, I think we need a motion just to have me assume the negotiators
to be
position
appointed, correct?
or appointed.
I move that we appoint Paul Bohosky to negotiate for the
Police.
PBA.
Yeah.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded that Paul Bohosky would become the negotiator for this board for the PBA. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and I will be the negotiator. We also need someone appointed for the Transportation Steering Committee.
So we have a transportation alternatives grant, which is looking at alternatives for improvements at the intersection at Atkinson, School Street, and then around that campus area. So we have a rep from both boards as well as the school and some staff. So we would like to have at least some potential new nominee. Deb was the previous nominee. You can certainly keep her if you wanted her. She's on the planning commission, so she could represent this board. It's up to the board how they want to go forward.
Any volunteers?
What's that schedule look like?
We are going to have a kickoff with the consultant who's working with us through Wyndham Regional this week, a Zoom kickoff. And I don't really know what the rest of the schedule is until we sort of sit down and go through that, so. I anticipate it'll be one of those things where we have a couple of meetings, they go back, they do some data analysis, they do some field work, and then they come back and present alternatives to the committee and then make a larger presentation to the board, so. It should not be, once a week kind of commitment or, an overwhelming commitment, but there will be some scheduled meetings for sure.
Anybody interested?
I would make a motion to retain Deb Wright if she's interested to stay on that committee. She started it.
Okay. Is there a second?
She certainly is familiar with a lot of the workings of the rules and stuff for traffic, so.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made, seconded that we would approach Deb Wright to see if she would stay on the Transportation Steering Committee. All those in favor? Yeah.
Just discussion, we didn't really decide, I didn't know whether Colin was interested or not, because if there's somebody on the board that's interested.
Right.
Then I think we would.
Are you?
Oh, no, I'm, yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
and then I kind of got the know that he was
Okay, I just didn't want
just
to.
looking at him, so.
I want to try.
Body
Yeah,
language.
I don't know.
I can withdraw my motion if.
No, that's all right.
All right, so motion been made, seconded, that we would ask Deb Wright to stay on as the trustees rep.
On the
Thank
steering
you
committee.
for the Transportation Steering Group. It's been seconded. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and we will see if Deb would do that. At this time, I think we're going to move item 4 up, which is the block party permit request for Brown Street. That came in your packet,
I'll make that motion.
okay? So we have a motion to accept the block party permit request for Brown Street submitted by Laurel Green.
It'll be for Saturday, June the 10th.
Yeah, Saturday, June 10th. Motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The manager would know, does this have to get approved by the PD?
I've already talked to the chief, so yeah, he's good with it.
Okay,
Since that's not a significant traffic concern, we'll be able to keep it relatively without additional.
I can't hear you.
There's no real need for additional patrolling or other police, that you guys are sort of your own entity, so it's pretty simple.
so they weighed in on it, basically.
Yes.
All good.
Anything else?
No.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of having the permit for the block party on Brown Street on the June 10th, I would say aye. Aye. Those opposed would say no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and that permit will be granted.
Quick question, I know when Chuck Weiss arranged something similar in the past, he arranged with the highway department, the police and fire were all notified. Do we take care of that?
No.
That's something.
It's all done.
All done. We've spoken to everybody. All
So we'll
good.
get, the highway department will deliver.
They'll drop off some barricades and things just to keep it. Yep,
Thank you.
all good.
All right, we'll move back to,
Make sure when you're done that you come down to the BFF.
I'm sorry, what?
That's right, bring all your money.
That's right. Don't spend all your money that day. You gotta come down to the Bellows Falls Festival later on that day.
I'm not planning to spend any money. I'll bring all my friends. Anyway, thank you all.
I will move back to number 2 on the agenda, review and update proposal of the ARPA expenditures.
So I have a spreadsheet here that we've been working on and asked members to give some weighted consideration to projects that had been previously requested and vetted. So I will send you guys a new opportunity to weigh in, to weigh in so we can reprioritize these depending upon what your interests and concerns might be with the ARPA expenditures. The key for this evening, though, is one of the things we want to talk about was one of the highest scoring projects and a project that I think we provided some additional information Marty had brought this evening was for the Gross roof or the Gross boiler project. And it's a pretty complex stack of funds required in order for this to move forward. And as with any of these, multiple funder types of projects, especially when you're dealing with federal funders, they want you to go through the federal environmental process. So that's NEPA. It's not free to go through NEPA, as you can imagine. And as part of our request to this board, we're asking that you would potentially award some funds so that Marty could hire the appropriate engineering and consulting help to get her underway with that review, which she has to complete then in order to be eligible for the rest of her funding stack. And she can probably give you better information as to where that all stands.
So basically, when I started this project, I started to source the funding 2 years ago. My hope was that we would have the project, like we would be breaking ground this summer. One of the last and big sources of funding that I was going for was community development block grant through the town. It was originally scheduled for the November 11th board meeting. They reached out to me prior to that meeting, the community development block grant specialist, and asked her that I pull my application and reapply in June. So that put any hope of having the project done this summer off. It meant I had to go through another summer with oil. Excuse me, another winter heating the place with oil, and heating at a significant increase. That significant increase wiped out the little tiny cushion I had built up for these type of events, the NEPA and other things that could come up. So, and it's a catch-22. I have been awarded, 890,000 from Northern Borders Regional Commission, but I cannot access any of that funding until I have the NEPA region, because both Northern Borders and Community Development Block Grant require the NEPA, so it becomes a bit chicken and egg in order to get the project moving forward. And my hope is truly to break ground next summer, so anything that we can do to help move that along would be greatly appreciated. And if there's any questions, that's a pretty nutshell bullet point, but it is an ever-changing, ever-moving project, and developing this funding stack has been interesting.
What's the current heating cost per year, and what's the projected after the boilers, you know,
So I can't tell you the exact
right,
current, but it's about $50,000 savings
per year?
per year, and that was with oil prices that they did this, DuBois and King did study in 2020.
Yeah.
So they used oil prices in 2020. We, in order for, one of the components of the community development block grant is to do like a pro forma projection.
Mhm.
So we projected out 5 years, and it proved out that we would save, and added, we kind of had to estimate fuel costs, because they're hard to estimate, they're
Number of heating
volatile.
days.
Yeah,
Heating days
so, but
change.
it proved out that about $50,000 savings a year, which for a budget like ours is huge.
Yeah.
So in my building, my only, I have an infinite source of income that can come in, it comes in tenants. I can't necessarily raise my rates to my tenants because they're all on, they're primarily on the profits.
Mhm.
Service providers, and healthcare providers. So the only way for me to look at long-term sustainability is cutting my expenses.
Mhm.
And this is the project. This is the project that gives us the biggest bang. We're also working on solar. Solar, we made a major part of our roof solar ready. We've had some quotes, and we're working on that too, so that we can run as lean as we can for sustainability.
What's the energy source of this new system?
Which,
Which is,
What's NEPA stand for?
National Environmental Protection Act.
Oh,
thank
okay.
you. I knew it was environmental, I knew the E.
Yeah,
I get lost in the alphabet soup sometimes.
it's an acronym that basically means it's a pain. We're doing the same thing at the train station, and it's very frustrating.
So why couldn't we free up this amount here from our ARPA allotment that we've been talking about?
Well, that was one of the things I was gonna ask the board this evening, if you would do that, in consideration of an amount up to 15,000, that could get Marty to get her engineers under contract and get the project underway, which would save her time in that timeline, because the NEPA has to go through this public review. It takes time to go through NEPA. So.
I mean, I know.
So I guess I would entertain a motion to free up to $15,000 of ARPA money to go to Grassa for their full environmental review.
I'll second that. Or you're not making.
I'm just saying, that's what I'm looking
I'll
for.
make a motion.
Okay, yeah.
I'll make a motion that the board free up to $15,000 from the ARPA fund to facilitate the NEPA review for Graz. Boiler system.
Is there a second?
I'll say it.
Okay, so motion was made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
How long does it take? How soon can they do this, and how long does it take to do it? Let's say, maybe you don't even know. I was just curious.
It really depends. When I reached out back in December, to get some quotes, at that time, they were able to do it immediately, but it was a matter of me finding funding at that time, and not knowing. I had a couple more oil deliveries to come, so I was in a position of not being able to say, okay, you can come do it. So that's kind of a bit of an unknown. But I have reached out, and I do have someone who named it. That's the number that you have.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we do have a motion on the floor, to look to free up to $15,000 of ARPA money for the full environmental review for Grassa. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and you have your funding.
If I could do the devil's kick right now about falling on the floor. I know y'all want to see it, but I'm not even gonna.
Let's give you a second, Jim.
I'll have to do it some other time. Thank you so much. I have another meeting to go to.
See you, Marty.
So we'll move back to item 3 on the agenda, which is review and the update of police fire building project.
Right, so I put in the packet for this board, there had been a review of projects at our previous meeting. Since we have some changes to the board, I wanted to just bring an update to the board so that you could see that there have been a couple of things that have been updated since the last meeting or earlier this month. We are underway with our gutters and dams project, which has been a long, trying to get roofers and people to do that kind of work, as you guys know, has been very difficult, but we are able to get somebody now, so we're going to use our current operating funds for that project, and we are gonna rent the actual lift so that they can use it for their work, and then we can use it for some other work that we want to do inside the equipment bay. So that project will be underway with current operating funds. The dispatch project, which is something that came up in a couple different ways. First of all, we're waiting for confirmation on a grant that we had submitted. The grant was for a digital radio upgrade, and the digital radios that we are looking for would also be able to coordinate for multiple jurisdictional frequencies. So for example, our fire departments, our police departments, and our public works would all be able to utilize this frequency. And then when you have regional events, these new radios then create a net that's available to them, and they are prioritized. It's called FirstNet, so they would have a prioritization in terms of communications and a way for large-scale events for all of these responders to come to larger events and be able to communicate effectively. So we do have a grant pending on that. It's about $63,000. And previously the boards had talked about matching some funds from police and matching some funds from the town side for public works. So we're waiting to hear from that. We're hoping to hear something this month. More likely it'll be probably Jim to find out if we receive that money. And then there's a secondary project to that. Our dispatch consoles and our dispatching equipment has aged out to the point where it has to be replaced. It's no longer products for some of our consoles are no longer available. So we have the same company that's doing the radio upgrades also is proposing to do some upgrades on our dispatching so that we would be able to go through and update all of the equipment. That's about $150,000 project, but part of the work that's being done for the FirstNet is in that $150,000. So we're going to have a conference follow up with the vendor to find out where the costs break out, and we'll get back to you with a firm idea of exactly what it might take. And by then we'll hopefully know if we've received the federal money or not on the whole radio upgrade, and then the dispatch upgrade, which would be part of that as well. So it's still in motion. We're hopeful that it will all come together. Timing is really out of our control because of these federal granting agencies. They don't commit to hard deadlines, as you can well imagine. The Lula lift, that's been a project.
Scott, can I ask what about the Saxons River and the Rockingham Fire Departments?
They're in the radio grant portion, so they're.
So all of the fire departments are part of that.
Yes,
application.
yeah,
And the police. are
and the
part of
police and DPW,
it, and the DPW.
yes.
Now, can you break off what this dispatch piece would cost?
I think it's part of the, yes, I think once we have we're gonna do a follow-up conference call with the vendor. But I think it's in the neighborhood, just the dispatch portions is probably in the neighborhood of 75 to 100,000.
Oh, wow.
So, but I'll let
I
you
say
know.
that because, back in the day, we did dispatching here.
Still do.
We had, well, we have a dispatcher that's on for 5 days a week,
Right,
8 to 5 or whatever it is, whatever the hours are.
right.
Previously, I think we had a staff of dispatchers that, I think,
Yeah, I believe we did.
and of course, if you had multiple dispatchers or something, I would think that the equipment needed would be more than if you just do it for 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. I mean,
I think the problem is technology has moved beyond where we are currently. I mean, we're about 4 generations behind in terms of the technology we have in the building. And we've reached the point where there aren't replacement parts. So we've sort of reached the end of its useful life. It's kind of like computers, that they're becoming so obsolete that they're not
Yeah.
even available for replacement. So, and we still do have the dispatch after hours through the sheriff's office. And then we also have dispatch that's also through Keene. So dispatch in regionally is an issue because of that.
I know you've mentioned it to us a couple of times, that the state's looking at it. That's just for one,
It's one
Person.
function, yeah.
that just seems like a huge amount of money.
Except for the fact that you have to be able to work in the 911 system, which is automated and digital and has its own requirements. And that same person also uses other state databases for crime reporting and also running license plates, all those things. So all of that runs through the dispatching and then through their individual police monitors and their car, their car-based computers. So it's a little more complex than the old.
More than just getting calls in.
Than the old, right, answering and making a radio call. Yeah, it's an integrated system.
Can I back up to the gutters and the dams?
Yes.
Yes,
So I'm curious on the dams, snow breaks, are those attached to the standing seam roof?
they would be attached.
And did they have that engineered or,
Yes,
okay,
that was part of the previous proposals when we worked with.
I just wanted to make sure, because I've worked in systems that are
Don't
on the
work.
roof. Well, the roof of like a tin can, so.
I didn't know they had to be engineered. I learned something.
Well, you've got that long run and so.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There's heavy loads that come through there.
It comes down and it will just
And we've done the work,
deal with them.
previously, we did the work because we were having flooding in the basement around the foundations. We had to do some foundation work. We got all that resolved. Now this will hopefully eliminate any future problems just by moving the water and the snow. So. The Lula lift, which is a whole nother fun project. The lift itself is a consideration. We have an application in front of, which we didn't even know. There's a statewide elevator review board. And we've asked to get a waiver so that our Lula lift could go an additional 3 feet. So Lulas are restricted by law to a certain height, because I guess just because of design and other considerations. But since ours is a limited use, and talking with them, they said, yes, go ahead and apply for this, because if you're granted that, then we can put a new Lula lift within the existing shaft and not have to replace the entire system. If we don't get this waiver, then we have to go in and basically create an entire new elevator shaft for the additional 3 feet, because the systems that they currently have now are not, the one that we have has to be replaced. It's not functional. But if they allow us to use it with another lift, we could save substantial amounts of money. If we have to do a full elevator, it's at least 150,000 and probably more.
Are we pursuing any grants on this?
If we don't get the approval, we'll have to get an ADA grant, because it'll be a $200,000 project. If we get the approval, I think it'll be less, significantly less, and then we can come back and talk about how we might want to fund it. Probably in the neighborhood of 50,000.
Because today at the Southern Vermont Economic Summit, which I think Gary was in the room that I was
Yes.
in, but there was a funding agency that has some money for elevators, so like, but
There is some, yeah. So we'll pursue it no matter what, but if we could get the approval for a Lula, it's substantially less expensive. So that one is to be determined. The Sally Port, again, we have new folks on the board. The board has looked at previous cost proposals and it's a consideration in relationship to other projects. And then finally, we're still waiting to hear back from our passive, our grant that we currently have submitted for the new cameras, which will then take pressure off of our server, and then we'll be able to do some other work to try to maintain and not have to replace those servers. We can take some stuff offline and be able to not have to go and do a full server replacement. When we talked to the board originally, it was going to be another 30 to 50,000 to do that. So we'll keep you informed as that goes. But as you can tell, public safety is a never-ending source of funds and constant source of capital investment. So more to come as we get some follow-up on some of these other projects.
Any questions or comments for Scott? If not, I'll move on to item 5, the banner application request for BF Pride. So in your packet.
Yep, so it's just a traditional banner request for the square. The dates don't conflict with any other dates. I think the next banner that goes up will be for the alumni. That one's coming up, and then after that one comes down, they've requested to place this banner.
I'll move approval of the banner application.
I'll second. Motion been made, seconded, that we would approve the BF Pride banner request. Any discussion?
I have a question. Yeah. What day is the parade on this year? Alumni parade?
It's the 18th.
It is the 18th.
So that would work good because we could take the banner down.
The 19th.
The 19th or 20th.
And put this one right up.
We could kill two birds with
Right,
one
one
stone.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the banner application request for BF Pride would say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and we have approved the banner application. We'll move down to review agenda items for the next meeting, which is now June 13th.
Right,
Well, financials.
yes.
I thought we would have financials tonight, but how are we looking?
Still trending in a good year-end fashion, so I don't anticipate any major, if we don't have any major surprises between now and year end, we should come in slightly under budget and in decent shape, so. Which is never a bad thing.
The only thing, I had one item.
Okay.
I don't even know where it would go, but what do we have to do about a moderator?
We will have to appoint a new moderator, since Paul was elected. I think the process is, I think he has to resign, and then I think this board then has the option to appoint one for a year until the new moderator can run.
Yeah, that's what we will need to do.
So,
So I went to see Kathleen today because I haven't signed my oath yet, because there wasn't really an urgency. She's gone until, I think, June 4th or something. So,
I mean,
I will take the oath, sign, and then actually submit a letter to resign,
gotta go through the process.
that's the process.
Yeah.
And then I would assume that we would put the word out
absolutely.
and
Go from there.
get a, see if there's 1, 2, 3, or whatever people that are interested.
Yeah, if you do know somebody, you might as well start talking to them now.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, this will all happen. It'll be, I would hope, maybe even by the June 13th meeting, we would have a name to.
Okay,
And if not, then certainly the meeting in July, we should do this just in case we need to have a special meeting or something comes up where you need a moderator.
I think it would, I think it'd be a good idea to have just a discussion with, particularly for the two new board members of these ARPA options.
well, we were gonna send out an update so that
Right.
these guys can
So they
look
can-
at it and make some determination.
But
They
just
might
get
have their
the-
own items that they wanna add, so,
Right.
yes, for
So
sure.
I think it'd be good to
We'll update it.
get the feel for what
The amount
some of us
money
were
is-
thinking.
Right, yeah,
and why we
absolutely.
were thinking, and get your feeling the same thing, you know, what.
Yep.
What you're interested in, what your rationale is.
We'll definitely put that on.
And they should get copies of the, come on, study.
We could go back and, yeah,
Well,
give
for
them the
the two
original,
new members, so
Yeah.
they have it.
the public process was, yeah.
Anything else?
Can't think of anything right now.
Okay, then we'll review agenda items for the joint board meeting, May 30th, 2023.
The primary one that this board will obviously be centrally involved in is the discussion of public safety services. Westminster Town Board, the Select Board Chair has emailed and expressed to me he wants to come and talk about that issue. I know that it's been discussed in Saxon's River as well as in Lower Rockingham, same issue about public safety services. So I think it's going to be a broader conversation about just current, what opportunities there might be, what interest there might be, and what the pathway might be if there's some interest then to go forward. So I imagine it would be quite an interesting conversation. I was also going to invite the sheriff, since 3 of the communities involved either have a relationship with the sheriff by contract or, you know, we certainly do too, in terms of he does provide our dispatching services, so I don't want him to feel that, you know, any conversations I would hope he would be a part of as well. So that'll be one of the items. The
So it's
Rockingham,
policing, it's really
it's a broader discussion of police,
policing.
yes. The Rockingham Incremental Development Working Group, Redwig, is also going to be presenting to the tri-board some updated information concerning some housing related information. So they've asked for some time. We're going to discuss whether we want to change our tax sale policy. Currently, the tax sale policy has a 2-year delinquency. And then after that, if you reach certain thresholds, then we put your, potentially list your property for tax sale. The discussion that has been informally discussed is to change that to a 1-year delinquency, and then you would be eligible for tax sale. So that'll be on for the joint boards for consideration. We're working on updating the personnel policies and the manual that goes with those for the town and the village. So we'll have a draft of that available. We've been working with that with the personnel committee. I'm not asking for your approval at that meeting. I just want to bring it to the board so they can see the drafts and the updates, and then we'll bring it back to the boards in September when it needs some additional work through the summer. So that'll be on there. So it's a fairly, there's a couple other items off the top of my head that I can't recall, but it's a fairly large agenda.
Sidewalks are gonna be on. there.
Sidewalks was the other one,
I
thank you,
remember,
Ray.
right, we're
You're
gonna talk about
correct.
sidewalks.
We're gonna talk about the commitment to sidewalks that we
Right.
talked about. So
Full meeting.
should be a full
Bring a snack.
lively conversation and interesting.
So the municipal website is, I mean, that's sort of a perennial issue, but hasn't really been addressed. Is that something that is appropriate for now or
We can-
the September meeting? But it seems like the boards need to commit to I mean, there are a lot of people that complain about how do you get the information, where is it? It's just the basic need. And if it's gonna cost us $15,000 to overhaul it, then each board contributes and we just get it done. Because it's,
I haven't really gone out and done a lot of work in terms of, there are so many options available. I mean, it's right, it's unlimited, the numbers of ways that you can do web development. So I think it's a good idea to commit some time. I now have somebody, Megan, part-time, that's helping my office, so she's got some pretty good computer skills. I was hoping to get somebody in the clerk's office because traditionally in other communities that I've worked in, the clerk is usually a repository for basic information. And I think it would be beneficial, since we did have an extra person in that office, that they're part of that process. So they could also be part of keeping things up to date, keeping the calendars, some of the things that, as Robert had mentioned and others had mentioned, causes frustration. I think it would be helpful to have them as part of that process as well. So I could certainly add that for, a strategic direction from the board, which I think would be helpful.
To Robert's point, it sounds like what I was hearing is that it doesn't necessarily need an overhaul, it just needs more, maybe like a more consistent policy in terms of what's being put on the website and how it's being updated. Or it might be a deeper issue.
I would suggest if you really want to take a look at just randomly, just pick a couple of communities and look at a website and you can see the differences in how people can find information. Our main page is not as easy to navigate as it could be. And then we have information, it's available, but you have to sort of search for it. It's not.
It doesn't really pop right out.
It doesn't. No.
Especially like lister information. When I
Lister
was sitting on the
information.
board of listers, it was night and day compared to other
Yes.
communities.
so is that worth having a committee that has representation from each of the boards or?
I think anything that, if it's a strategic direction, I think it would be great. I think it needs some real attention. And I think that would give it enough incentive to move it.
Yeah, that does sound like a good idea, particularly if there's, well, you mentioned Bonnie North before.
Yes.
Has an interest in that.
She did. She was part of that previous design, and she does have some experience, and I'm sure she'd be interested as well, so. I'll add that for that conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to see that move forward.
Yep.
Anything else for the joint board? If not, we have review and approve.
Well, just, no, unfortunately, I'm gonna be out of town for Memorial Day travels. That one. So I don't think I'll be able to do that.
It's available on Fact TV, so you get back.
I will catch up on it for sure.
Sure. First thing you want to do is get home.
So we have review and approve orders, bills and warrants, and so moved.
I'll stop now.
And then any other business?
Yeah, well,
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Motion been made and seconded that we would approve orders, bills and warrants. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We've approved orders, bills and warrants. Other business? Any other business?
I had one item
Yes.
that I actually came in here the other day and totally forgot to mention it. I can never remember, who owns the Wells Street playground? School or the town?
The school department, I believe, owns the
The land?
land, and they have a lease to the town for the use of
So who maintains it?
the town.
Town,
Mhm.
is my understanding.
So I was just curious. So anyway, just FYI, up there it's been getting used quite a bit. There's behind the backstop, that home plate,
Mhm.
along both fences, there's some, I think there's 6 or 8 cement footings that stick up. above the grass. And in the middle of them, there's anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inch pieces of threaded rod. That they think, I think they once held like a bike rack or a bench or something. But anyway, all I'm getting at is somebody, somehow we gotta get them covered or protected.
Or the metal cut off, or so it's taken right out of it.
They're not doing anything anymore, they're just there.
No, it's like something that at one point was attached to these footings with the threaded rod, and that went away.
So I wonder if they were benches when
They were either benches or
when
bike
they
racks,
played, Little League, not
Yeah.
Little League up there, but
T-ball.
T-ball.
Okay,
So-
I'll look and see what's up there.
The other night I was there and there was a lot of people there, and I happened to look down, I'm thinking, oh,
Not good.
somebody ought to put like a 5 gallon pail over it or something, or somebody lands on it. So it's an easy fix, I meant to tell you that day and I forgot all about it.
Okay.
But then I got to wondering, I couldn't remember who,
I'll
I knew
have
there
it-
was
I'll have
a
it
deal there
there.
somehow.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay. Do we go right around the tape, Jake? Other business like that or not, or?
I'm good.
Okay, fine.
All set?
Yeah, all set. Okay, and I'm all set. So I think we have need for executive session tonight to discuss
Yes,
negotiations.
it'll be two separate motions. The first one will be, we are negotiating a public employment, so number 2, and then the specific item is labor relations agreements with employees, the second, number 8. So if somebody could do both motions, we could.
Number 2 and 8.
Okay, so, I move, that we go into executive session, for the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. For the public, body must make a final decision to hire or support in any open meeting. And it must explain the reason for its final decision under BSA 313A3.
I'll second it.
So we have motion to go to executive session for the information that Jake just ran. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. We'll go into executive
We
session,
got one other.
and we have another.
motion. I move the board enter executive session to discuss labor relations agreements with employees under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
Second.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded that we would go into executive session for the reason that Jake's just read. Been seconded. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We'll go into executive session.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.